Wahaha.
I mean, cold opens are a thing.
It's true. And this is our first podcast, so having the banter before we get started and when we're all nervous will be great.
Nervous?
What's this nervous you're talking about?
I mean, I may or may not be about to crap my pants in terror, but...
That's just because you're sitting next to me. All right.
Roll the intro.
Welcome to Two Men and an English Major, the show where a woman with 2 literature degrees attempts to educate 2 clueless men about the stories everyone says they should read.
Oh, damn, there was supposed to be a study guide for this?
Hi.
Who says we should read these stories?
The world.
Lies. Slander.
The nebulous English major in the sky.
All those 100 books to read before you die lists, and the if you want to be successful, you should read these things.
Oh, you mean the lists I never read?
Whom?
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is about, is me going through the list of things you've never read and giving you everything you need to know about them.
Good.
Since this is our first episode, we're going to take a minute and introduce ourselves. We're going to start with names, a little bit of why we're here, and what makes us qualified for this podcast.
Wait, we're supposed to have qualifications?
Oh, man.
You two aren't.
Dang it.
Oh.
We'll start with the 2 men from Two Men and an English Major. Ben, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yes, I'm Ben. I'm married to our English major, Lynn. Former art major turned blue-collar worker turned school bus driver, college dropout. Both my parents had multiple advanced degrees. My dad has 2 masters and a doctorate, all of which he achieved before he was 40. My mom was a librarian. As a child, the best word for it is devoured books. I was an avid reader.
What are some of your favorite genres?
Sci-fi, high fantasy. Don't really go in for horror or anything like that. I prefer to use reading as more of an escape.
Oh, we'll have fun.
Oh, I know. Let's see. I don't read quite as much anymore. I'm more of an audiobook person.
Valid. Audiobooks are reading.
You're being read too.
It still counts.
I agree.
How about you, Jordan?
All right. Well, as the English major here just mentioned, I am Jordan. I am Ben and her best friend for 15 plus years, going on 18 now.
Yes, our friendship is a legal adult.
Yeah, it could vote.
Nah, that's not a good idea.
It is not. You are correct.
Oh, that'll date this episode.
I am a former bookworm, mostly gamer nowadays, but I still enjoy reading now and again. I was more the one who read textbooks, go figure, and history, mythology were the focus when I was younger. Over time, that evolved into a love of things like fairy tales and folk tales and H.P. Lovecraft, Poe,
Yes.
the Divine Comedy.
Yep.
Those are all things I read, enjoyed very much.
They are on my list of ones we're going to cover.
Oh boy.
And my parents read to me a lot as a child, which is where my love of reading stems from. I met these 2 nerds through a Star Wars fan fiction site, the amount that I wrote with the English major is probably in the thousands of pages.
We lost track after we hit somewhere in the
Yes,
millions of words.
Yeah,
but
I might have had a problem.
Had.
yes, yes, that is putting it kindly.
And what is your education level?
Education level is some college. I did not finish. I was going for culinary,
I did
and
enough college for all three of us. It's fine.
Yeah.
well, yes, I spent many a night talking to her as she was pursuing her master's.
So, speaking of, I'm Lynn. I'm the resident English major. I have 2 degrees in literature. My first is a bachelor's degree in literature that I graduated in 2013 with. And then I have a master's in literature and film, specifically adaptation. So, taking a story from one format and turning it into another. So, you'll get some references to that from me fairly often. I got my master's in 2017, and halfway through, I married Ben.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we kind of like each other.
Just a lot of it.
I have 10 years of English teaching experience from 7th grade through freshman in college. I read about 75 books a year for fun.
Good Lord.
They're not all classics, I promise.
I know they're not. That's the problem.
The other thing I will say is that I have a very high tolerance for bad grammar.
Much more than Jordan or I do.
Comes with teaching 7th graders.
You have the patience of several, if not possibly all, of the saints.
Debatable, but we'll see.
You married me. You have at least half the litany of saints.
I signed up to do this podcast. I'm pretty sure I'm a masochist.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Can't dispute that.
Anyway, I absolutely love the literary extremes, as I call them. So things like postmodernism, mythology, adaptations, absurdism, nonsense literature, basically anything that doesn't follow a normal stream of storytelling.
That's why we get along.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And as an English teacher, though, I have spent a lot of time learning about how stories are told, all of the conventions, the things that are important. And so I've kind of learned how to teach them. And we thought that people would have a great time learning about some of the classics from someone who has the knowledge but is willing and loves bringing it to a relatable format. And 2 people who really enjoy harassing her.
You don't have to come right out and say it.
Well, it's gonna be pretty obvious. I mean,
I know, but don't spoil the fun.
All 3 of us are gamers, storytellers. We love stories as a way of connecting with others, as a part of our human experience.
Yep.
We hate pretentious English dicks.
and just pretentious dicks in general.
I mean,
Wait until we get to Hemingway, then I can pull out Randy Feltface's tirade about him. That'll be fun.
look, one of Hemingway's main characters' only flaw was that he didn't have a dick.
Oh, maybe
We'll
someone
get
pulled
there.
it off and used it to beat him with. So,
It wasn't big enough for that.
unfortunate for him.
You know, you don't have to make the sound effect. I can add those in post.
Sorry, reflex. You spend enough summers doing puppet shows at VBS for kids that you learn how to do stuff like that.
Yeah. So, a couple of things before we dig into our actual content. A couple of things. We are going to try and keep this mildly educational, but also relatable. There will be swearing, so if you have small children, just know we're not the best at keeping our mouths clean. And if you hadn't noticed already, we do keep things a little irreverent with those pretentious English dicks.
I worked in a factory for 7 years. It's a miracle I haven't cussed yet.
I worked in customer service for 1. It's a miracle I lasted that long.
Valid. I did 9 years. How are we still alive?
Hey, she was a barista.
It's true. I had hot coffee thrown in my face.
Okay, yeah. No, she wins. or loses, or...
I don't think anyone wins in this equation.
Moving on!
Oh.
So we decided we're going to start our first episode with a book that I am known for loving.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote my undergraduate thesis on this. We are going to talk today about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
And the amount of rants I had to hear while she was writing it.
Luckily, for me, I wasn't around in her life yet.
This was 6 months before I met you.
You get to hear him for the first time. I get to hear him for the second. Or more.
I'm scared.
Probably third or fourth, to be honest. All right. So our author is Lewis Carroll, which was, of course, a pen name because in the Victorian era, pseudonyms were all the rage. His real name was Dr. Charles Lutwidge Dodgson.
I can see why he went for Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, no one
Yeah.
wants to go by Dodgy.
No.
Although
His writing is.
He was a mid to late 19th century author, but he was kind of at the spearhead of nonsense literature as a genre and children's literature as a whole. We kind of have him to thank for children's literature.
Or blame.
You know, that too.
Thank, blame, same difference.
He was a mathematician.
That explains a couple things.
He was also an Anglican deacon.
That explains a lot of things.
And he was a photographer. He was a professor at Oxford and had a huge variety of interests. And fun fact, he had a mild form of epilepsy, which gave him migraines with aura and at least 2 documented seizures.
Well,
I said fun fact. I didn't say nice fact.
I wouldn't really call that a fun fact.
He also invented a prototype of the game Scrabble.
What?
Yeah. He was very into games and logic, as you're going to find out.
Okay.
And one of the things I'm going to harp on a lot on this is that he did not do drugs. That empty sound you hear is the skepticism.
No drugs. I can kind of see that.
He
was problematic.
Yes, people have come up with many speculations about Lewis Carroll. The history only says certain things. What we know for sure is that he was closer with children than with adults, which can be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we do not understand or did not understand when a lot of the theories about him were coming up was the concept of autism.
Okay.
And so with that, a lot of his behaviors and his hyperfixations and his issues with the sensory overload and with socializing and all of those things can all be linked now to an autism diagnosis. Which, again, Victorian England, you don't really notice those things.
No. But then again, everyone was on cocaine in Victorian England. It's hard to notice anything.
He's not wrong.
I mean, they did give it to infants, but, that's a different podcast.
Oh, and heroin.
There was a controversy over him and the photos he took of children. Mm-hmm. I won't deny the fact that he did take nude photos of children. It was a Victorian aesthetic at the time, and parents were always there. It was actually a whole, there was this vibe in early Victorian photography of the innocence of children and how children could be naked without it being a problem. Yeah. With our modern sensibilities, we look back at it and go, that's real awkward, sir.
Yeah, to put it kindly.
I will also say all of the accusations of him being a pedophile happened after Freud developed his version of psychology.
Oh, surprise.
Don't put Freud's name next to psychology. That man was a quack. I have strong opinions.
I know. Don't worry. We'll get to Oedipus at some point eventually.
Oh, please don't.
It's on my list.
Of course it is.
Shit.
Apparently, he actually dated around quite a bit. Not Freud, Lewis Carroll. He dated around quite a bit and had an affair with Alice Liddell's nanny and her mother.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, no.
The story that we are going to talk about specifically is his book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And here's some basic information that's kind of spoiler free about the book before we get into breaking down the plot and analysis. So it was heavily influenced by classical logic and reasoning, so that like x plus y equals z and algebra and all of the math that I don't like doing.
That none of us like.
No one likes doing it. Okay, I shouldn't say no one. There are some people, they're wrong, but I guess they're allowed to be. They have opinions and such.
Everyone is allowed to have a wrong opinion.
I suppose.
It was classified at the time as nonsense fiction because it was meant. But nonsense had a different meaning back then. Nonsense meant that you were flipping logic upside down to show how logic worked. So it was meant to highlight logic, not just be random. This is not like some girl on Tumblr just posting whatever random deep thoughts come into her head. This was actually very intentionally the opposite of logic.
Right, it's not Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy from SNL.
That's a whole different kettle of fish on a different boat, possibly on another ocean.
Deep cut there, Jay.
He's good at those.
The book was written at the request of family friends who were the daughters of one of his coworkers. They were out on a boat trip and they told him that the stories he kept coming up with and telling them about this fantasy world were something they wanted written down. So he did. And when the book was published, it became wildly popular overnight. He did not handle the popularity very well.
Most authors seldom do.
He was very confused. And so he ended up writing a couple of sequels. The most popular one that we know of is Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There.
Whoa. You're telling me there's more than one?
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know that was the full title. But...
They're all based on different types of games. So the first one is actually based on a poker game. And the second one is based on a game of chess. Ben is making faces that an audio-only format does not appreciate.
Excuse me for being part Muppet and having facial expressive reactions instead of just audio.
Look, eventually we'll do video podcast, but that requires getting him a camera. All right, so here is where I give you spoiler warning. If you don't know the story of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, this is the place where you jump ship. And why did you start listening to this podcast in the first place?
Probably because one of us asked them to, but...
Yeah, probably. It is the first episode. So we are going to go into our plot.
Oh boy.
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is the story of a girl somewhere between the ages of 7 and 12 who chases a rabbit down a hole.
As you do.
The notes I took, I have a ton of bullet points, just kind of reminding myself of the plot as we go. And my next one is the beautiful quote from Toy Story. It was falling with style.
Oh boy.
As she falls down the rabbit hole, she does a lot of thinking and self-reflection. And I believe at some point pulls jam out of a cupboard and tastes it. Like, it's a very long fall where she has a lot of time to think about the world. And we get to know her a little bit. We get to know that she is constantly talking to herself and constantly getting facts wrong. So she's saying a lot of things that are obviously wrong.
It's a whole new spin on unreliable narrator.
Well, what's funny is that it's written in third person and the narrator is having none of her shit. The narrator is constantly just sassing Alice or describing her in ways that make her sound insane or ridiculous, and it's kind of funny.
Okay.
Once she lands at the bottom of this hole, she runs down a hallway full of doors, and finds a table with a little bottle on it that says, "Drink me." And being a child, she doesn't consider this suspicious at all. Drinks the bottle, shrinks
Genius.
down small enough to get through a door, but doesn't have a key. Then she sees another box that's labeled "Eat Me." So I'll give you 3 guesses as to what she does.
And I'm assuming the first two don't count.
What would you do in this situation?
I mean, as an adult, probably not even be there, but
if you've now shrunk to about 3 inches tall.
I mean, I could have all sorts of trouble with that, but
You definitely would, yeah.
Look, I know you cannot imagine being short.
I am 6'3" on a good day.
Yeah. Some of us in the vertically challenged department.
You're a hobbit. Deal with it.
He's not wrong.
Oh, you're a dwarf. You can shut up.
All right.
If we're gonna do the Lord of the Rings analogy,
no, that's a different episode altogether. We got to get back on track.
Fine.
So she eats the cake that is in the box labeled "Eat Me," and grows to be way too big to fit through any of the doors.
Oh boy.
This, of course, upsets the poor child, who decides to start crying, because crying is the solution to everything.
I mean, it is a valid reaction.
She is a 12-year-old girl. Having taught many 12-year-old girls, crying is their usual reaction to most things.
As a school bus driver who deals with K through 12, yes.
She literally cries us a river.
Wait, what?
She cries so much that she floods the room, and then when she shrinks back down, she is in a pool of her own tears that many wild animals have all been caught in.
That's metal as heck.
Alrighty then.
This is also where we get her famous quote of "curiouser and curiouser." She says this all the time. It's kind of the main shtick of the story, is that she's constantly asking questions and being curious, and it's getting her in trouble.
Okay.
The big question of the book that Alice is asking herself is, who in the world am I? She feels like she's kind of lost who she is. And in this pool of tears, she runs across several animals that decide to try and help her figure this out by making her do things that young Victorian children were expected to do, like recite poetry. Unfortunately, the poems that she recites are nonsense versions of the poems they ask her to recite. So, for example, they ask her to recite a poem called "How Doth the Little Busy Bee?" And instead, she talks about a crocodile.
How the hell do you get from... I'm trying to map this one out in my head, and I got nothing.
Resident Florida man?
Like, seriously, how do you go from a bee to a crocodile?
Do you?
Well, I know everything goes back to alligators in Florida.
I thought it was Cajuns. Or is that further west?
Further west.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Louisiana. How do you go from bee to crocodile? That is... Wow.
What's really amazing is that the poems are fully formed poems that rhyme and everything, and she has them memorized. So when she's asked to say the full poem of "How Doth Little Busy Bee," and she says a different poem about a crocodile, it has the exact same cadence, the same rhyme scheme, the same stanza pattern. It's just a completely different story. So it's like somebody pulled the one poem out of her head and put a different one in there, and she's just as confused as the two of you are.
That's
Okay.
good, I suppose.
If you're lost now, just wait. Because the next thing she does is meet a mouse. And the mouse, I love the mouse. This little field mouse who is drowning in her tears is very easily offended. And Alice has a habit of putting her foot in her mouth. So as she is talking to this mouse and trying to get help from it, she starts talking about her cat and how her cat is so good at chasing mice. And the mouse literally turns around and swims as far away from Alice as he possibly can, and Alice does not understand.
I mean, I can't blame the guy. That is kind of a...
Yeah.
As someone on the spectrum, I understand missing social cues, but...
Damn, girl. Like,
yeah.
You really missed...
Yeah.
Yeah. The mouse also tells us a poem about the mouse's tail, which is a lovely pun, because it is the story of the mouse, but it is shaped on the page like a mouse tail. So the way the poem is written on the page, it does a little, like, curving slither down the page. It's very cool.
I'm gonna have to get a soundboard for rim shots and sad trombones at this rate.
Oh, we can get them. It's fine. Okay. This is also why I'm doing the editing, so it's not entirely sound effects. That's all you.
He makes a good point.
So,
every once in a while.
Then they find a bunch of birds. So she and the mouse come across a beach, that has a bunch of different birds on it. And the main bird is the dodo bird, who is running a caucus race. It's animals running around in a circle for no reason. There's no beginning, no end. They're just running in a circle. This was very much a child's perspective on politics.
She's not wrong.
I mean,
the only way it could have been more dead on is if they all had their head in the sand.
Or up there, but anyway.
I believe at one point the dodo bird declares, "Everyone wins and we all must have prizes." Looks at Alice and expects her to give everyone a prize.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That tracks.
Lewis Carroll was a smart man. He understood the world. He just expressed it in a very weird way. Alice, of course, being the small child she is, gets distracted from the caucus race, following the White Rabbit, who runs past this whole shindig and off into the convenient nearby woods. Alice bolts after him. There are no chapter transitions in this book. So there are 13 chapters, and each one kind of focuses on a different card in a deck. So, like, chapters 1 through 10 are a little bit more standard, and then chapters 11, 12, and 13 focus on the Knave, the King, and Queen of Hearts. So the chapters are much more like little vignettes, and then just abruptly end with Alice deciding to go do something else.
So stream of consciousness style.
I was about to say that must play hell with the ADHD.
My entire thesis about it was that it is fantastic postmodern literature before postmodernism was a thing, because you could take all of the chapters, shuffle them, and they would still make as much sense.
That is to say, very little.
Yes. So just like a pack of cards, you could shuffle the chapters in this book and they would follow a similar pattern and it would be fine. As long as you take the first chapter and the last chapter and keep them at the beginning and the end. Anyway, they go to the house of the White Rabbit, and the White Rabbit assumes that Alice is his maid and sends her inside to get his gloves. So, of course, she runs inside, looks for the gloves, and gets distracted by a tray of cakes. Now, what happens when you eat cakes?
You grow.
Yes. So, inside of a house, she eats the cakes.
Well, that feels like a bad idea.
Just a lot of it.
That's a terrible idea.
This is also where we meet our recurring character, Bill the Lizard.
What?
Bill is a Cockney lizard who is a gardener. And all of the other animals try and trick him into getting the monster out of the house by climbing up to the chimney, going down it, and setting Alice on fire.
What?
Oh, it's a solid plan.
It is what they attempt to do. Unfortunately, this doesn't really work. So Alice decides, what the hey, I'm just gonna bite another cake and see what happens. And she shrinks. So she runs out of the house, now about 2 inches tall, and runs into a puppy.
Oh boy.
Puppies are terrifying when you are tiny.
I can only imagine.
Puppies are terrifying when you're not tiny. Just, they have a lot of energy. But basically, this puppy looks at her and reacts to her as if she were full size, wanting to play, wanting to do all the things a puppy would want to do. And she has no idea how to handle this.
Of course not. You're 2 inches tall and he's not.
No, he is not. Eventually, she throws something mildly like a stick, and the puppy goes running off into the grass and leaves her alone. Again, chapter transitions don't exist.
Okay.
Because the next thing you see is she finds the caterpillar. Oh, the caterpillar.
Is this the one that was smoking the hookah in the Disney movie?
He's smoking the hookah in the book, too.
Oh, okay.
So, the caterpillar represents several things. I can't get around the fact that the caterpillar is racist.
I mean, there's always one of those in Victorian literature.
At least.
I'm trying to be nice.
Just wait till we get to Poe and gorillas.
No, we don't.
Moving on.
We don't discuss that.
The caterpillar kind of represents this idea of an all-knowing wise man. And so he has kind of that Middle Eastern vibe to him, and he's smoking a hookah. But he also kind of symbolizes teachers from a child's perspective. They're annoying and vague, and they don't really have patience for your nonsensical questions. Just get to the point. And so she is basically trying to talk to this caterpillar. And the note I have here is Alice is on her bullshit again. Because she's trying to explain who she is, but she can't. And the caterpillar has no patience for her nonsense and just wants her to get out of his house and move on.
Fair. Valid reaction.
He tries to get her to prove that she knows something by reciting more poetry. She, yet again, replaces the poetry with nonsense versions.
I was about to say that's not going to go well.
It did not go well. She also sticks her foot in her mouth again by saying that it's very, very inconvenient and uncomfortable to only be 3 inches tall, and then notices that the caterpillar is exactly 3 inches tall.
Well, that's rude.
Why do I feel like this is going to be a recurring problem?
Alice shoves her foot in her mouth? Yeah.
I feel like it is.
Is that the title of the episode? Alice shoves her foot in her mouth?
Yeah, we'll workshop it.
Alice in Wonderland equals foot and mouth disease on steroids.
So she basically takes a chunk of the mushroom that the caterpillar is sitting on, because he tells her one side will make her grow tall and one side will make her small. So she stretches her arms out, grabs a piece from either side of the mushroom, and shoves them in her pockets. Because back then dresses had pockets.
Oh boy, here we go.
Every dress should have
good,
pockets.
this rant.
You know what? I will leave it there.
Uh-huh. No, you won't.
For now.
She takes a tiny, tiny bite out of one side, discovers that it will make her larger, and then takes another bite, and all of a sudden becomes extremely large, but not proportionally.
Wait, what?
So she grows in such a way that her neck becomes extremely long and almost like prehensile, so she can like move around like a snake with it, and she gets so tall that she is above the trees, but it's mostly with her long ass neck.
Okay.
I don't remember that part of the book, but okay.
Most people don't. It doesn't go into the adaptations a lot.
Why not?
Well done, little lady. You done turned yourself into a giraffe.
That ain't no giraffe, man. That's,
She wouldn't have known what a giraffe was.
Well,
but what does
obviously.
happen if she gets into a fight with a pigeon?
let me guess, it tries to take a dump in her hair.
No, she bends her head back down into the tree line and finds a pigeon's nest. She tries to ask the mama pigeon for directions of how to get home or get out of here. And the pigeon just freaks out because pigeon sees this giant head on a long body and goes, "Serpent, you want my eggs! How dare you! Get away! You can't have my eggs!" And Alice shoves her foot in her mouth by saying that she doesn't want eggs right now. She already had some for breakfast.
Oh, for God's sake.
Damn it, Alice. That's not the right answer.
No. I taught this book to 7th grade for a few years, and the kids got a huge kick out of the way I read this chapter, and I would break my voice screaming serpent when the pigeon screamed. Because in the movie, the pigeon screams and it sounds like serpent! And the kids would all make me do that to get their attention after we read this book.
Of course.
Is that why you came home with no voice those times?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
7th graders are wild. I love it.
I don't, but okay.
Eventually, Alice manages to have her head and her hand meet somewhere in the middle, and she pops the other side of the mushroom in her mouth and shrinks back to a normal size.
Been a while since that's happened.
And she comes across the Duchess's house.
Oh, great. Now we're into nobility.
Yes. The Duchess is a righteous bitch.
Surprise, surprise.
Oh, I love her.
Oh, boy.
She is
What?
chaos incarnate. So at the Duchess's house, there's a frog footman who is just absolutely...
Wait, back up. A frog footman.
Yes. He's a footman, but he is also a frog.
All right, continue.
He is deeply confused about life and existence and ends up sitting on the front porch with the door open behind him and just kind of letting Alice wander into the Duchess's house. Where she can hear lots of screaming and yelling because there's a cook in the house making soup, and the cook has put way too much pepper in the soup, so everyone in the house is sneezing.
That's not how that... Culinary man, that ain't how that works.
Kind of can, but usually no.
They were British. Their spice tolerance is very low.
As in non-existence.
What tolerance? They stole all the spices in the world and now they don't use them.
Well, you know, excuses. In the Duchess's house, you have this cook who is screaming, throwing pans, putting pepper in everything.
Sounds like an episode of The Muppet Show.
Yeah, basically. The Duchess, who is upset and angry. The baby in the Duchess's arms, who is crying at the top of its lungs. And a cat sitting on the fireplace. Don't worry, we'll come back to him. Alice decides to take the baby because the Duchess is throwing the baby around, like just up in the air and all over the place, and doesn't really care about this infant. And Alice thinks this is probably not safe, so her
first sane thought she's had.
It's probably one of the only, like, actually solid decisions. Alice's, like, decision-making skills, while I question them, this is one place where I do support her, in that she took the child out of the house.
Probably for the best.
It was a very rough situation for that poor baby. Unfortunately, as she exits the house, she looks down into her arms and sees that the baby has turned into a pig.
What?
Huh?
And this pig infant rolls out of her arms and runs away. The note I have says, screaming baby turns into a pig. No one questions it. Alice contemplates child abandonment laws.
I was about to say.
She was a little bit worried that she was going to get in trouble for losing the child, but she didn't lose a child. She lost a pig. So she's not 100% sure how that works.
I mean, you're still getting in trouble for losing livestock, but...
This child will never be mentioned again.
Of course not.
Well, it's not a child anymore, so why should it be?
The pig will never be mentioned again either.
That feels lazy, but
yeah,
carry on.
I figured.
Pig baby, gone. But we now
Thank
get
God.
to the best character in the entire book.
Oh, here we go.
We get the Cheshire Cat, who pops in out of nowhere and starts calling Alice on her bullshit.
Thank God someone does. Is he the... Is Cheshire the narrator's self-insert?
I'm not sure. Cheshire seems like this strange anomaly character that I think represents more like a court jester who's allowed to tell royalty that
they're being idiots.
They're being idiots. Like, that was a common thing in British court, that you would have one person in court who was essentially allowed to tell you off, and they could do it as a joke, and that was it. He kind of seems like a holdover from that. And that character stuck around in literature for years. Like, you see that character in all sorts of medieval and romantic and Shakespeare and all these things. The character of a jester is always there as kind of like this audience representative who is there to tell the characters when they're being stupid. And so he pops in and is that kind of representation of that type of character.
Okay.
He calls her out on her nonsense when she says, like, I don't know which way I'm going to go. And he says, well, where do you want to get to? And she says, well, I don't know where I'm going. He says, well, then it doesn't matter which direction you go. If you don't know where you want to get to, just keep walking.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not. It's true. The unfortunate side effect of this is that her keep walking lands her at the Mad Hatter's tea party.
Oh, boy.
Well, I mean, probably not the best place to be, but...
The Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and the Dormouse are problems. They're They are also entirely made of puns.
Oh, crap.
So you've probably heard the Mad Hatter thing, in that hatters in the Victorian era used a lot of mercury in
All
their,
of it.
yeah. And so they slowly went crazy. So that was kind of what he represented. But then the March Hare represents angry, horny people.
Huh?
Because a hare in March is in breeding season.
Oh, crap.
And while Alice would not have understood that as a repressed Victorian child, she had heard the term March hare, or angry as a March hare, or wild as a March hare, because it was a common phrase. She just didn't know what it meant. So she is literally picturing a hare that is angry. And then you have the dormouse who's afraid of everything and keeps falling asleep.
Forgot just how batshit insane this story is.
There are so many puns in this scene. It is insane how many puns are here. And it just gets worse. There are two scenes. There's this one, and there's Mock Turtle Soup. And those two scenes are just entirely made of puns. Because apparently that was the height of humor in Victorian era.
Channeling your inner Fozzie Bear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before Fozzie was cool.
Okay, two things. One, Fozzie has never been cool. Second, I lost my train of thought. Let's keep going.
There's some terrible timekeeping skills in this group, in that it is always tea time here. Time is kind of stuck. Father Time has abandoned them because apparently he offended the queen, so she killed him. So now time is stuck at tea time. So they're just constantly having tea. They can never finish having tea because it's never not tea time.
But bathroom breaks.
Nope.
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
When they're done with the dishes at their seat, they get up and move down a seat and slowly rotate around the table.
That seems wildly inefficient.
Yeah. It also represents kind of how a kid would picture, like, etiquette and dining rules, and how they make absolutely no sense. Like, have you ever looked at a formal dinnerware setup?
Once.
Yeah, they're kind of a mess.
Yeah, they're not fun.
I mean, how many different forks do I need to anyway?
At least 7.
It's minimum.
Alice decides that this is a little too insane for her, and tries to leave. Unfortunately, by leaving, she finds her way to the croquet grounds.
Oh no.
Where she meets the cards. She meets a deck of cards, some of which are painting white roses red, because they accidentally planted the wrong color of roses, and the queen is going to kill them if she finds out.
Is that her reaction to everything?
The
Pretty
queen?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of more about how queens are, like, constantly needing to be appeased. And at the time, it was this, like, again, it's a very childish perspective on adult things. So it's meant to represent the fact that, like, a kid doesn't understand court and politics and things like that. She just understands that if you do the wrong thing, you're gonna get killed.
You need to go to a different court then, but anyway.
So the Red Queen, or the Queen of Hearts, and her entire court, which the children in the court are the 13 heart number cards. The gardeners are all spades.
Jeez.
The rest of the nobility are the diamonds, and the army are the clubs.
Not subtle.
No card puns.
Ugh.
You also get the fact that I'm pretty sure Lewis Carroll hates the game of croquet.
Doesn't.
I mean, it is a silly game.
Yes. It's represented essentially as a game that is super dumb. Nobody knows the rules. And it involves flamingos somehow.
God damn it. It took place in Florida.
I bet you could play croquet in Florida.
Well, of course you can.
I mean, the water hazards might be a bit much, but...
You know how flat it is for most of the state?
I've been there, yes.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people golf there. Can't be too different.
But
no,
it can.
golf was invented by a Scotsman who was trying to kill, like, moles and, like, what's the animal? Gophers.
Golf is a good walk spoiled, to quote Mark Twain.
To quote Robin Williams... Oh, wait, no, I can't say that in episode 1.
Save your Robin Williams quotes for later.
Yes.
So, as this game of croquet is going on, and people are getting less and less involved in it, it's basically a lot of wild chaos, and no one knows who's supposed to be playing when. They're pretty sure the queen is winning, but mostly because if the queen isn't winning, she's going to kill them all. The Duchess shows up. We have a recurring character. And the Duchess has changed her mood entirely.
Oh boy.
She is no longer angry and screaming. She is the most dreamy, romantic, over-the-top, seems like she's high as a kite.
They put something else in the soup, didn't they?
You know?
Probably.
And she starts talking about how everything has a moral, and everything is wonderful, and she gives the best riddle ever. And I'm going to read it to you word for word, and I want your honest reactions.
Oh boy.
So, her advice that she gives to Alice, and this is supposed to represent the advice that adults give children that children just don't understand, is never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others, that what you were or might have been was not otherwise than what you had been would have appeared to them to be otherwise.
Eh?
When you math it out and cancel out all the double negatives,
Good luck with that.
what you get is don't do anything people would expect.
Why don't... Just say that!
Welcome to the frustration that Alice feels.
Ugh.
In the background, by the way, everyone is still playing the stupid game.
Of course they are. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Alice gets pulled aside, though, by the mock turtle.
The who?
The mock turtle.
A mocking turtle or a mockery of a turtle?
Well, have you ever heard of mock turtle soup?
Not until
Yes.
today?
Jordan, what is mock turtle soup?
I forget exactly what it's made from, but I know it started to become popular when the use of turtle was outlawed because of the decimation of populations.
Yes.
So
So, Alice probably had had a soup called mock turtle soup, did not know that it was fake turtle. And so,
As opposed to...
in her brain, there is an animal known as a mock turtle, or a fake turtle. That is the main ingredient of mock turtle soup. The mock turtle and the griffin decide to take her out to an island just off the coast and tell her all about what it's like to be educated in the ocean. And they make a ton of puns about school subjects that are ocean puns. I won't go too into depth of this, but this is the other session of extreme punitude. There's also a whole thing about dancing lobsters and the lobster quadrille.
This really is the Muppet Show.
Yeah, honestly. But then they hear that there's going to be a trial, so the Griffin flies everybody back to the court. And we get to the actual conflict of the final couple chapters. Because, oh no, we have a crime.
oh.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
So they all go to court. Basically, this court is what someone would put together if they had no idea how the justice system worked besides watching one episode of Judge Judy while high on shrooms.
Oh.
Oh, fuck no.
So
There's my one F-bomb for the episode.
there are things like testimonies and witnesses and convictions and sentencing. They just all happen out of order and nobody is good at it. And the jury can't write because they can't spell.
So it's a Phoenix Wright game.
The witnesses haven't actually seen the situation. Actually, Phoenix Wright probably took some inspiration from this.
No, it definitely did.
What we know is that someone stole the Queen's tarts. We know that everything
is a tart. What are you talking about? Anyway.
We know that everything is happening backwards because they have decided that the knave has stolen the tarts and they just have to figure out how and why and get witnesses to say he did it.
So, guilty until proven innocent.
Basically.
Yes.
The witnesses, however, don't know anything and weren't there. And it kind of ends with Alice being called as a witness to the stand to prove that the knave stole the tarts. She has never met the knave, by the way. This is the first time she's ever heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts growing again while on the witness stand, which causes quite a bit of chaos. So in order to wrap up the court case before Alice breaks the courtroom by growing too tall to fit in it, they
Literal
decide...
fourth wall break.
Yes. They decide to convict the knave on account of terrible poetry, because he wrote a poem that apparently gave him away.
What? Did it have to do with tarts?
No.
So it's something completely unrelated to the case that he gets convicted on.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Why do I feel like the tarts are missing because somebody was being a fat ass and didn't want to fess up?
Oh, most likely.
Or the Queen, probably.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with the Queen.
Meanwhile, after they decide that he is guilty, the pack of cards chases Alice down and tries to attack her because she has grown a mile tall and no longer fits in the courtroom, which is a problem.
Yeah, it's slight problem.
So we blew straight past Kaiju State and just right into like Eldritch Horror size.
Yes.
Yay!
At which point, Alice wakes up.
Buzzkill?
Yeah, we find out
Rude.
It was all a dream. She fell asleep while her sister was reading her a boring history textbook out in the lawn.
It couldn't have been that boring if this is the shit you were dreaming about.
Homie, what kind of stuff were the Victorians on? We know for a fact that kid probably had something in her system that was psychedelic.
Even with that, it is not going to translate a boring history book into that.
Kids have hyperactive imaginations?
I kind of love the ending, not because it pulls the whole "it was all a dream" stereotype trope, but because it doesn't end with Alice. The way that it ends is Alice runs off and goes inside to go have dinner, and her sister sits there and has heard the whole story of everything Alice dreamed about and went through, and just has basically an existential crisis. Because as an adult hearing all of this, she's like, this is so wild and crazy, and my little sister has a very trippy imagination. And she starts picturing, like, someday Alice telling these stories to her own children, and it kind of becomes very meta in the, oh, it will be so great someday when she can use this. I hope she gets to keep this imagination and use it to tell stories to her children someday and never grows out of it. And, like, you can hear the author talking to the girls in that moment, and it's kind of sweet.
If you say so.
Yeah, I forgot the ending. I read it many, many years ago, but...
Oh, it's been closer to 30 years than I care to admit.
So what was your knowledge of Alice before this?
A couple of the movies and secondhand from you by osmosis, and reading it, like, again, almost 30 years ago in elementary school.
Yeah, I think I read once in high school, the movies, a couple movies, and of course...
Which you have very strong opinions about.
I do have very strong opinions about the movies.
Which makes sense.
That was her master's degree.
Yes, and then talking to her while she worked on...
the undergrad thesis.
Which you tried to turn into a doctoral thesis.
No, I did not try to turn it into a doctoral thesis. I could have. It's what got me into my master's program. Because I was talking a lot about how nonsense is very difficult to adapt, because what is logical in one era or to one person is so different. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that you have all of these things getting flipped upside down, you'll notice throughout the story, like, there were all of these points where it's very much, oh, this is how a child would experience this. This is how a child would experience a tea party where all the rules are crazy. This is how a child would experience playing croquet with a bunch of adults and not knowing what to do.
Look, croquet is just boring lawn hockey where you can't hit anyone.
I think you could in this version.
Oh, that makes it better.
But again, if you imagine you're like a 7 to 12-year-old girl who's constantly growing and changing and nothing makes sense and adults hold you to weird expectations without explaining them, it is a very relatable thing. It's just highlighting how nonsensical some of the things we ask kids to do can be by making them even crazier.
I hate when she makes sense out of nonsense.
You could have just stopped after sense, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Fair point.
Final thoughts on your exposure to Alice in Wonderland?
I feel both smarter and stupider at the same time.
You know, that is a very fair assessment. Definitely a trip of many sorts.
To Wonderland?
No.
I would not say
No.
that. It was not. No.
Well, we are reaching the end of our time for this episode. If you enjoyed this, comment on Spotify, follow, like, share, do all the fun podcasty things. If you have requests or comments or just want to tell me I'm wrong about literature, it's always fun. You can email us at englishmajorpod@gmail.com.
Please give us some engagement. We're actually trying to make a go of this thing.
And we will see you in the next episode,
where I get to talk about Shakespeare.
Oh, crap.
Oh, God.